Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Donald Trump to face first criminal trial in a hush money cover-up on the 25th of March. Trump calls the decision a disgrace. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi targets multiple vessels on Thursday, including a British ship. US and British warplanes carry out retaliatory strikes across Yemen. And in cricket, India loses 2 early wickets, including centurion Ravindra Jadeja on the second day of the third test against England in Rajkot. And on to the details now. In New York, a judge rejects motion to dismiss Donald Trump's hush money case. The trial is set to start on the 25th of March, marking the first instance where a former president faces a criminal trial. DD India's correspondent William Dansalor reports from New York.
Heading into court, Donald Trump said the case against him amounted to election interference. Despite similar claims from his legal team, Judge Juan Merchan said the case will go to trial as planned on March 25th. Trump faces 34 charges relating to accusations that he falsified business documents in order to cover up hush money payments to a porn star during his 2016 bid for the White House. Justice Merchan said in his ruling that these are serious allegations in a complex investigation. If convicted, each offence could bring with it the maximum of 4 years in prison. The former president denies wrongdoing and says the 4 separate criminal cases against him are politically motivated, designed to sabotage his re-election campaign. Merchan says the trial here in Manhattan is expected to last around 6 weeks. Meanwhile, in the state of Georgia, a hearing is being held to determine whether a relationship between prosecutors constitutes a conflict of interest. District Attorney Fani Willis hired Nathan Wade to run a case against Donald Trump and 18 other individuals accused of trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. A witness on Thursday testified there was no doubt that Willis hired Wade after the start of their relationship. The defence argues the DA should be disqualified from the case. Such an outcome would mean the appointment of another prosecutor, who would then decide whether to continue with the case, make changes to it, or even drop it altogether. Willis says her relationship has had no bearing on the case, and that it ended back in August. William Denslow in New York, reporting for DD India.
And U.S. presidential candidate Nikki Haley campaigns in Texas to win over deeply red state voters. Her next challenge is the South Carolina primary, where she challenges Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. DD India's Nick Harper reports from Austin in Texas.
Nikki Haley is fighting to survive. The former US ambassador to the UN wants to become the Republican nominee to take on Democratic President Joe Biden in November's presidential election. But standing in her way is the former president, Donald Trump. He's already had some big wins in some of the state nominating contests, including big wins in Iowa and New Hampshire. Next weekend, they'll face off in South Carolina, and the polls already suggest Trump has a considerable lead, potentially with as much as 65% of the state backing him, compared to about 30% for Nikki Haley. Now, there had been speculation that if she were to lose in South Carolina next Saturday, she would drop out. But the fact that she's campaigning here in Texas suggests she's in it for the long run. Texas's primary is not until March the 5th. That's Super Tuesday, when more than a dozen states across the US hold their nominating contests, including California, where she was campaigning last week. All of it suggesting she intends to stay in the race until and potentially beyond Super Tuesday, and she's trying to win over voters here in Texas. But she may be disappointed. Polls suggest that only 20% of Texans support her, compared to 80% for Donald Trump. She's hoping to prove she can be an alternative to the former president. She says she has far less chaos in her campaign compared to Donald Trump. So there's certainly tenacity in her campaign, but reality may catch up with her in the coming weeks when it becomes clear that Donald Trump has overwhelming support to become the Republican Party's nominee. Nick Harper in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
Well, a day after US carried out 4 strikes on Houthi-held areas of Yemen, rebels fired missiles at a British ship off the country's coast on Thursday. Yemen's Iran-allied Houthis have launched repeated drone and missile attacks against international commercial shipping in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait since mid-November. The targets have been vessels with commercial ties to the United States, Britain or Israel. Well, after the leaders of Canada, Australia and New Zealand on Thursday called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, White House's national security spokesperson John Kirby said that a major operation in Rafah would be a disaster without a credible plan. Israel will press ahead with an offensive against Hamas in Rafah, the last refuge for displaced Palestinians in southern Gaza, after allowing civilians to vacate the area, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on the 14th of February.
We continue to believe that under the current circumstances, without a credible plan, as the president said, to account for the more than 1 million Palestinians that are down in Rafah, make sure that they have a place where they can be safe and secure and out of harm's way. Without that credible plan, a major operation in Rafah would be a disaster. We agree with that. And we're continuing to talk to our Israeli counterparts about what that plan might look like.
And NATO and Ukraine will create a new analysis, training and education center in Poland. Speaking after a meeting of alliance ministers and Ukraine on Thursday, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the center will allow Ukrainian troops to share the lessons learned from the conflict. Stoltenberg also told reporters that a group of NATO members have committed to deliver 1 million new drones to Ukraine.
A group of allies is coming together with the goal of delivering 1 million drones to Ukraine. 20 NATO allies have also agreed to form a demining coalition. All of this will help to save Ukrainian lives. Together, NATO allies account for 99% of all military aid to Ukraine. But the United States, being by far the biggest ally, of course it's vital that continue to provide support, and therefore I continue to expect that they will be able to make a decision, and hopefully as soon as possible.
Meanwhile, Poland's President Andrzej Duda and Prime Minister Donald Tusk will travel to the US next month. The two leaders will meet President Joe Biden at the White House on the 12th of March. They're expected to discuss Russia's offensive in Ukraine and bilateral relations. Poland and Britain have appealed to the US Congress to adopt an aid package for Ukraine. Western funding is crucial for Kyiv's ability to repel Russian attacks and keep its battered economy going as the conflict nears its third year. And American Vice President Kamala Harris is in Europe to talk defense with a number of global leaders. The VP's talks come as Washington continues to debate a major military spending package for both Ukraine and Israel. From Munich, DD India's Trent Murray reports for more.
Well, the Munich Security Conference is one of the most important gatherings for world leaders to discuss both security and defence. And certainly this year we are expecting a star-studded cast, if you will, leaders coming from near and far to discuss some of the biggest challenges in the world right now. We know the US Vice President is here, Kamala Harris. She will speak on behalf of America and the White House to other European leaders, including German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron. Even Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is here to discuss some of those challenges. And we really are tracking 3 key themes over this 3-day conference. The first is that continuing war in Ukraine, just a couple of 100 miles from where I am here in Munich East. We know President Zelensky will attend, where he is likely to continue to ask the West for more military and financial support as he continues to battle Russia in the east of his country. Of course, the conflict in Gaza also will be front and centre. We know the Israeli president will be here, as well as the Palestinian Prime Minister, and that is expected to be a session that could be quite contentious. In fact, many streets here in Munich have been shut down now, a major police operation, because they are expecting a number of protesters to come to the city over the next few days to protest against war. And then the third real important topic, I think, is what's happening in the United States with the US election. Many European leaders are quite nervous about the possibility of a second Trump presidency. What could that mean for the relationship, say, in NATO with the European Union? It's what they describe as the transatlantic relationship. And I think in many ways, Vice President Harris is trying to come here to send a message that no matter what happens at the ballot box in the US come November, the US will continue to be a major ally of European nations. Trent Murray for DD India in Munich, Germany.
And as we told you, how West continues to support Kyiv, where Germany and France will sign bilateral agreements on security commitments with Ukraine on Friday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting Germany on Friday, during which he will meet Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin and President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. A bilateral agreement about security assurances and long-term support will be signed in the framework of these talks. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron's office said that he will reaffirm France's determination to continue to provide unwavering support for Ukraine. France plans a €200 million fund for civilian projects to be carried out by French companies. And moving on, some updates from the conflict zone now. Ukraine said it was withdrawing troops from some parts of the eastern town of Avdiivka to better positions after months of heavy fighting on Thursday. The battle-hardened reserve fighters from a crack brigade have joined the battle. Russian forces have been trying to advance on the town since October and have surrounded it on 3 sides, leaving limited resupply routes for the Ukrainian troops dug in there. Kyiv's foothold in the town appears increasingly shaky, with its supply lines threatened. Capturing Avdiivka is key to Russia's aim of securing full control of the 2 provinces that make up the industrial Donbas region. Well, the White House spokesperson John Kirby said on Thursday that the Ukrainian city of Avdiivka is at risk of falling to Russian forces, citing Ukrainian troops lack artillery ammunition.
Avdiivka is at risk of falling into Russian control. In very large part, this is happening because the Ukrainian forces on the ground are running out of artillery ammunition. Russia is sending wave after wave of conscript forces to attack Ukrainian positions, and because Congress is yet to pass the supplemental bill, we've not been able to provide Ukraine with the artillery shells that they desperately need to disrupt these Russian assaults. Now, Russian forces are now reaching Ukrainian trenches actually in Avdiivka, and they're beginning to overwhelm Ukrainian defenses.
Well, in another attack, a Russian airstrike killed at least 3 people and injured 2 more in the Kharkiv region of Ukraine on Thursday. The local governor, Ole Sinebov, said 2 bombs hit a car carrying civilians and set a residential building on fire. The building was severely damaged and burned in the attack. Both Russia and Ukrainian sides deny targeting civilians since the start of the war. And 7 people, including a 1-year girl, were killed in a Ukrainian missile attack on the southern Russian city of Belgorod on Thursday. The regional governor, Vyacheslav Glatvov, said 18 other people, including 4 children, were hospitalized, with 6 in serious condition. The Russian health ministry said it had dispatched a team of medical specialists from federal centers to Belgorod. The ministry said the attack was carried out with Czech-made Vampire rockets. Meanwhile, the Russian defense ministry said its air defense system had shot down 14 Ukrainian missiles over the Belgorod region. Belgorod is the nearest major Russian city to the border with Ukraine, and the city have come under frequent attack since the war. Meanwhile, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson said on Thursday that Russian-related national security threat is a very serious matter and needed to be addressed immediately. Johnson spoke to reporters after a briefing on Capitol Hill by White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and other officials about Russia developing an anti-satellite capability.
Let me give you an update. We just had an informative meeting of Jake Sullivan. This is a matter that we've known about for a few weeks. We requested a meeting with the president. We did in writing in January. It's a serious matter. Some details have leaked. There's lots of conjecture, but what we're permitted to say in an unclassified setting, it is that it is a very serious matter. It does involve Russia. It's not a matter that can involve delay. It's something we have to address seriously and on an immediate basis, and we are.
Well, also, the Kremlin dismissed on Thursday a warning by the United States about Moscow's new nuclear capabilities in space, calling it a malicious fabrication and a trick by the White House aimed at getting U.S. lawmakers to approve more money to counter Russia. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Washington's warning was clearly an attempt to get Congress to approve more money. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov accused the United States of malicious fabrication. The United States has told Congress and allies in Europe about new intelligence related to Russian nuclear capabilities that could pose an international threat. U.S. officials said the issue was a Russian anti-satellite weapon that was in development, not an immediate threat. And still to come on DD India News Hour. U.S. workers are constructing a taller border fence along the U.S.-Mexico border. Kansas police link Super Bowl rally shooting to dispute, says no link to extremism. And a Cambodian entrepreneur is transforming tons of discarded plastic bottles into broomsticks.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
How potent is North Korea's nuclear threat? The Korean Peninsula may be on the brink of war. I connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, border issues take center stage in this U.S. election year as conservative lawmakers highlight illegal crossings from Mexico. Reports indicate nearly 125,000 individuals stopped by border agents in January, either assessed for asylum or returned, with the majority in Arizona and California. As DD India's Caroline Malone reports from Santiago.
Well, there have been fewer people trying to cross the border from Mexico into the United States in 2024 than there were at the end of last year. We are seeing an increase in number of people trying to get into certain states, including Arizona and here in California. A number of nationalities are trying to cross the border from Mexico and Tijuana, that you can see behind me, into this region, into San Diego. And those nationalities include Venezuelans, Haitians, Colombians, and even people from China. And now how they're treated when they get to this side of the border is still up for debate. Members of Congress are continuing to discuss whether wider border security should be part of an overall security and aid package that goes through Congress. Some of the more conservative Republicans want to decrease the number of people even to zero that are able to cross the border from Mexico into the United States illegally. In fact, the issue has become such a hot topic that only recently the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas was actually impeached in the House. He is the first cabinet secretary to be impeached, and was done so because some people think that he isn't doing his job in ensuring border security safety, and that he's lost the public trust in doing so. It's still an issue, though, and it continues to be an issue both in the United States and across the border in Mexico, where officials are increasingly busing migrants down south and in some cases even flying them back to their countries of origin. Here in the United States, it's only likely to feature even higher, as of course it's a presidential election year and has become a major campaign topic. Caroline Malone in San Diego, near the US-Mexico border, reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, U.S. workers are constructing a taller border fence along the U.S.-Mexico border. The new fence has metal sheets on top of the border fence that point to the Mexican side. It is located between the Tijuana-Santiago border that would be 10 meters high. According to immigration activists, the new design aims to reduce the flow of migrants in the area. A record number of migrants traveled across Central America and Mexico in 2023, aiming to reach the United States, fleeing poverty, violence, climate change and conflict. Well, a boat capsized off the coast of Panama carrying 25 migrants, 4 of whom were killed and 7 others missing. The boat was carrying 25 migrants, many of whom are fleeing poverty, gang violence or other hardships in their home countries. The bodies were found near Panama's border with Colombia in the Querétaro area near the Caribbean port of Obaldia. The area is near a route through the deadly stretch of jungle known as the Darien Gap, where many US-bound migrants journey on foot. Authorities have not confirmed the number of victims or their nationalities. Well, Mexican truck drivers have blocked key highways to protest road safety issues, leading to increased robberies and extortion. The drivers have called for increased security measures as 1 to 2 truck drivers are killed each month due to road safety issues. Traffic on at least 9 highways has been affected by the protest. Transport union leaders have warned that more strikes could be called if the government doesn't meet their demands. Mexico's government has labeled the road blockade as unfounded and unjustified, and Amtrak representatives have stopped negotiations. Well, Kansas City police link Super Bowl rally shooting to a dispute among people, ruling out any apparent link to extremism. Police said they had detained 3 people, including 2 minors, as subjects in the investigation. The third detainee, also a juvenile who was determined not to be involved, was later released, according to police spokesperson Alaina Gonzalez. Police were working with juvenile prosecutors to review evidence and determine applicable charges against the 2 minors, both teenagers still held in custody, she said. The police chief told reporters several firearms had been recovered from the shooting scene. It was the latest high-profile outburst of gun violence in the U.S., where such incidents have erupted with increasing frequency in schools, supermarkets, nightclubs and other public settings. And moving on, Senegal's Constitutional Council on Thursday ruled that Parliament's unprecedented postponement of the February 25th presidential vote and its rescheduling for December was not in line with the Constitution, pitching the country into a new phase of electoral uncertainty. The standoff has fueled widespread unrest and raised international concerns that one of the remaining democracies in coup-hit West Africa is under threat. In the latest twist, the Constitutional Council decided that the postponement law is contrary to the Constitution. According to its minutes, the Council also ruled to cancel a decree announced by Sall ahead of the vote that helped set the postponement in motion. The Council did not specify when the election should be held, which means it is up to Sall to set a reasonable date if he abides by the Council's decision, said presidential opposition candidate Anta Babacar, who welcomed the ruling as good news. Well, a political stalemate in Pakistan still continues after an inconclusive election ended with Shehbaz Sharif chosen to lead the country again, while efforts were underway to get the second largest party to join the government to ensure stability. The new government could also face new political tensions, with independent members of parliament backed by jailed former Premier Imran Khan forming the largest group in the legislature. The new coalition government of Pakistan will face challenges on many fronts as the country is grappling with an economic crisis amid slow growth and record inflation, along with rising militant violence. Meanwhile, in the midst of political uncertainties, protesters gathered in Quetta for a sit-in on Wednesday against election results. Several members of Baloch, Pashtun and Hazara nationalist parties of the province protested in front of the office of the district returning officer. Well, in the midst of political uncertainties in Pakistan, the United States is concerned about reports of intimidation and voter suppression in Pakistan's election. Questions have been raised about the fairness of the February 8th election, both inside Pakistan as well as in major foreign capitals, with Washington having previously said there were undue restrictions on freedom of expression and assembly.
We're concerned, and we share concerns about some of the reports that we've heard coming out of Pakistan in terms of intimidation, voter suppression, that kind of thing. And so we're watching this very, very closely. And as I understand it, votes are still being tallied. So international monitors are still taking a look at those tallies. I'm not going to get ahead of that process.
And moving on, Thai authorities have warned of unhealthy pollution levels in Bangkok and surrounding provinces, ordering government employees to work from home for 2 days. Air pollution is caused by crop-related burning, industrial pollution and heavy traffic. Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin blamed crop burning for the spike, while around 25% of pollution was from the vehicles. The government has offered subsidies to farmers to prevent burning and packages for cheaper electrical vehicles. Thai lawmakers are considering a Clean Air Act for transport, business and agriculture. Well, the U.S. special counsel leading a criminal probe into President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, said a former FBI informant was charged with lying about the pair's alleged involvement in business dealings with the Ukrainian energy company Burisma Holdings. In a statement on Thursday, special counsel David Weiss said a federal grand jury had indicted Alexander Smirnov, of 43, on charges of making a false statement and creating a false and fictitious record in relation to an FBI probe on allegations that Joe Biden improperly tried to help his son's business interest in Ukraine. Smirnov faces a maximum penalty of 25 years in prison if convicted. And Greece's parliament approved a bill allowing same-sex civil marriage on Thursday. It is being hailed as landmark victory for supporters of LGBT rights. The law gives the same-sex couples the right to wed and adopt children. This comes after decades of campaigning by the LGBT community for marriage equality in the socially conservative country. Greece is one of the first Orthodox Christian countries to allow such unions. The bill was approved by 176 lawmakers in the 300-seat parliament and will become law when it's published in the official government gazette.
Κυρίες και κύριοι συνάδελφοι, ψήφισαν συνολικά 254 βουλευτές. Επί της αρχής του σχεδίου νόμου ψήφισαν ναι 176, όχι 76, παρών 2.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, Spain is opening an exhibition titled Signs and Objects Pop Art from the Guggenheim collection on February 16th. Pop art emerged in the late 1950s and 1960s, expressing social criticism of consumerism. Artists showcased advertising and consumerism through humor, irony and wit, using various materials and objects to celebrate popular culture through advertisement, magazines, newspapers, billboards, movies and comics. Cambodian entrepreneur Has Kias transformed 40 tons of discarded plastic bottles into broomsticks since March last year. Using bamboo sticks and plastic bottles, the broomsticks are ideal for high-intensity scrubbing and are sold in Phnom Penh and other provinces. Kia sources materials from trash collectors and garbage depots. Fuji City in Shizuoka experienced temperatures reaching 16 degrees Celsius on Tuesday and Wednesday, reaching late March. Iwamotoyama Park, home to about 300 trees of 30 plum flowers, hosted early bloomers, including Mount Fuji, which was visible under clear blue skies. The plum blossom viewing season continues until early March. And still to come on DD India News Hour. White House reacts on attacks against Indian students in US, says there is no excuse for violence. To further deepen financial connectivity, India and Nepal collaborate in linking their fast payment systems through the UPI NPI. And we show you how Indian philanthropist is transforming the lives of elderly residents while uplifting communities in Uganda.
That never stops, where information shapes our reality. One app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Donald Trump to face first criminal trial in a hush money cover-up on 25th of March. Trump calls the decision a disgrace. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi targets multiple vessels on Thursday, including a British ship. US and British warplanes carry out retaliatory strikes across Yemen. And in cricket, India hopes to put up formidable total against England on the second day of the third test in Rajkot. Host will resume play on 3:26 for 5. Well, moving on, the White House strongly denounced violence on factors like race or gender, categorizing such behaviors across the country. Responding to a question about recent attacks on Indian students in the US, spokesperson John Kirby said that that's just unacceptable. The president and his administration has been monitoring the situation and working with the state and local authorities to thwart and disrupt those kind of incidents. The statement comes in the wake of a sudden surge in attacks on Indian students in the United States.
No excuse for violence, certainly based on race or gender or religion or any other factor. That's just unacceptable here in the United States. And the president, this administration, has been working very, very hard to make sure we're doing everything we can to work with state and local authorities to try to thwart and disrupt those kinds of attacks and make it clear to anybody who might consider them that they'll be held properly accountable.
And the central banks of India and Nepal on Thursday signed terms of reference for the integration of the United Payments Interface and National Payments Interface. The Reserve Bank of India and Nepal, Rashtra Bank, signed the terms of reference. The integration is aimed at facilitating cross-border remittances between India and Nepal by enabling users of the two systems to make instant, low-cost fund transfers. The collaboration between India and Nepal in linking their fast payment systems through the UPI NPI linkage will further deepen financial connectivity and reinforce the enduring historical, cultural and economic ties between the two countries. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is slated to address the Viksit Bharat Viksit Rajasthan program on Friday via video conferencing. During the event, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate multiple development projects worth over $2 billion. PM Modi will inaugurate various national highways projects worth over $602 million in Rajasthan. PM Modi will also inaugurate 8 important railway projects of Rajasthan worth over $277 million. PM Modi will lay the foundation stone solar projects worth around $638 million in Rajasthan. He will also inaugurate multiple projects worth $289 million under Jal Jeevan Mission. And later, PM Modi will visit Rewari in the Indian state of Haryana on Friday. PM Modi will inaugurate multiple development projects worth over $1.1 billion, including urban, transport, health, rail and tourism sector. PM Modi will also lay foundation stone of Gurugram Metro Rail project worth about $656 million, foundation stone of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, that is AIIMS in Haryana, is also being laid under Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana. Prime Minister will also inaugurate a newly built experiential museum in Kurukshetra, built at a cost of around $30 million. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone and dedicate to the nation multiple railway projects in Haryana. An Indian Army Chief General Manoj Pandey, during his official visit to US, visited the Headquarters 1 Corps of US Army. During his visit, he was briefed about the Striker Unit, Multi-Domain Task Force and the Special Forces Group by the US Army officials. The visit to the Specialist Unit aims to explore avenues for more significant training engagements. Indian Army Chief is on a 4-day official visit to US. And in Uganda, an Indian philanthropist is transforming the lives of elderly residents while uplifting communities. Led by Juhi Barrett, the Leela Foundation Uganda is providing essential support to the seniors. Let's take a look at DD India's correspondent Leon Siange's report.
Thank you. Bye, Jaja. See you.
Happier than before, 80-year-old Joyce Zawede doesn't always have something to keep her going.
Sometimes I do not have food to eat. We also do not have people to help us. This is very helpful.
Philanthropist Johi Parod, a Ugandan of Indian origin, is behind the initiative to see life here for the elderly change.
You learn to share when you see people sharing. So us, we have learned to give because we've seen our parents giving. And not giving in a way that you're doing someone a favor, no.
According to national statistics, there are close to 4 million elderly people aged 60 years and above living in Uganda. Many of the elderly people living in these slums do not have much access to basics. With no work and income, there is little or nothing to help them get by. Recent research revealed that 2 out of 3 elderly people are caring for young children, while only 1 in 5 elder persons can access credit.
The number of older persons through the improvement of life is increasing. So the problems are also increasing. The challenges are increasing.
Through Juhi and her privately funded Leela Foundation, there is a lease of life for elderly people and children as well. The foundation's name is derived from the Indian word Leela, which means beauty. Over 10,000 people have benefited nationwide.
This happiness that we're trying to spread, we want it to be like a disease. We want it to stay forever. And we want that contagious smile to remain at the back of their heads.
For Zawede and the thousands of other elderly people, this is a time to cherish the joyous moments with the hand that keeps giving. Leon Sanyange in Kampala, Uganda, reporting for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. At least 11 people have died in the fire that broke out at the market in Alipur in Delhi. As many as 22 fire tenders of Delhi Fire Service reached the spot and controlled the fire. A search operation is also underway for the missing person at the site. The cause of the fire is still unknown. The Delhi police has registered a case and the investigation is underway. More than 50 countries are going to participate in the 12th edition of Milan exercise, which will be held at India's Visakhapatnam from the 19th to 27th of February. The participating countries are sending their operational units and delegations. In addition to building bridges of friendship and strengthening of relationship, Milan exercise would enhance interoperability and enable exchange of best practices among the participating militaries. A large number of devotees thronged to Indian city of Ayodhya for offering prayer at the Ram Temple. After the Pran Pratishtha ceremony of Ram Temple on 22nd of January, people from all over the world are reaching to have darshan of Ram Lalla. The two-day cultural festival New J&K New Hope commenced in India's Jammu and Kashmir. Manoj Sinha, Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, inaugurated the event. He lauded the joint endeavour of the all J&K folk artists to showcase the rich musical heritage and folk art legacy of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory. A total of 450 artists from different parts of Jammu and Kashmir are participating in the cultural festival. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people through his Mann Ki Baat program on the 25th of February. People can share their ideas and suggestions for Mann Ki Baat program till the 23rd of February through MyGov portal. Mann Ki Baat program will be broadcasted on the entire network of Doordarshan. Delhi Police is celebrating its 77th Racing Day. Ceremonial parade was organised. Minister of State for Home Affairs Nityanand Rai attended the ceremony at Parade Ground in the national capital, New Delhi. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Google to launch anti-misinformation campaign in 5 European countries to prevent spread of misinformation online. 2 major economies fell into recession at the end of last year, but that's not hurting their stock markets much.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome to Kumarakom, Kerala, God's own country.
How potent is North Korea's nuclear threat? The Korean Peninsula may be on the brink of war. I connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and on to some business news now. In spite of strong global headwinds and trade disruptions via the Red Sea, India's merchandise trade deficit narrowed to $17.49 billion in January as exports edged up by 3.1%. According to data released by the country's Commerce Ministry on Thursday, India's exports in the first month of 2024 amounted to $36.92 billion, up from $35.8 billion in January 2023, but down from $38.45 billion in December 2023. Well, U.S. stocks closed higher on Thursday as retail sales data showed unexpected slump in consumption, fueling hopes the Federal Reserve may soon start cutting interest rates in the coming months. A Commerce Department report showed U.S. retail sales dropped 0.8% in January, weighed by declines at auto dealerships and gasoline service stations. The data had investors less stressed about hotter-than-expected inflation data on Tuesday that had sent stocks lower. The S&P 500 gained 0.58%, adding 29.11 points to end at 5,029.73 points, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.30%, moving up by 47.03 points to 15,906.17. Moreover, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 348.85 points, about 0.91%, to end at 38,773.12. And now, as the UK economy contracted for the second straight quarter in a row, indicating a technical recession, the UK pound has tumbled against the dollar on Thursday as an immediate reaction. The data released recently showed UK economy contracted by 0.3% in the fourth quarter of 2023. Investors anticipated a deceleration of growth of 0.1%. British pound came under severe selling pressure post the data and hit a low of $1.2544. The pound-dollar pair is sharply below January monthly close of $1.2715 and is seen headed for further decline. On the NSE, the British pound is quoting along the flat line at 104.28 after hitting an intraday low of 104.22. Meanwhile, broad dollar strength overseas on reduced expectation of an early federal rate cut is also keeping the pair under pressure. The dollar index, which measures the value of the USD relative to a basket of global currencies, retraces from a three-month high of nearly the 105 mark and hovers around 104.54. And buoyed by the positive sentiments of the U.S. markets, the Asian stocks surged in on Friday morning, supported by U.S. rallies as investors shrugged off weak retail sales data. The benchmark Nikkei 225 index was up by 1.66%, gaining 634.17 points at 38,792.11, while the broader Topix index surged 1.32%, adding 34.28 points to 2,626.13. South Korean shares moved up on Friday, propelled by overnight Wall Street gains after a drop in U.S. retail sales helped soothe investors' nerves over overheated consumer spending. The benchmark Kospi rose 0.55%, adding 14.27 points to reach 2,628.07 at 43 GMT. Indian benchmark indices opened in the green on Friday, tracking gains in global pairs. At 10 a.m., Sensex was up by 286.72 points at 72,337.72, and Nifty was up by 98.55 points at 22,009.30. Well, Google is preparing to launch an anti-misinformation campaign across 5 countries in the European Union ahead of the bloc's parliamentary elections. In June, EU citizens will elect a new European Parliament to pass policies and laws in the region, and lawmakers fear the spread of misinformation online could sway the voters. Google is going to bring together tougher new rules to tackle online content. While all this is happening, France, Poland and Germany accused Russia of putting together an elaborate network of websites to spread pro-Russian propaganda. Europe's Digital Services Act comes into force this week. It requires very large online platforms and search engines to do more to tackle illegal content and risks to public security. Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. India have lost 2 early wickets against England on the second day of the third test in Rajkot on Friday. The hosts resumed the play on 326 runs for the loss of 5 wickets, with centurion Ravindra Jadeja and night watchman Kuldeep Yadav at the crease. But both of them were dismissed within few minutes of the start of the play. Jadeja scored 112 runs on day 1. Captain Rohit Sharma and Jadeja smashed defiant hundreds to drag India out of the doldrums. India were reeling at 33 for 3 inside the opening hour after Mark Wood picked up 2 quick wickets. The 5-match series is poised now at 1-1. And the Indian men's hockey team will face Ireland in their 4th FIH Hockey Pro League match today. India went down 4-6 against Australia in their 3rd game on Thursday. However, they won both their previous matches. The Harmanpreet Singh and co started the season with a 4-1 win against Spain before scripting a thrilling shootout win against the defending champions, the Netherlands. While the Irish side had a disappointing start to their Pro League campaign following defeats to the Netherlands, Australia and Spain, but have made remarkable strides in recent years. They secured their berth at the Pro League 2023-24 season on the back of their silver medal win at the inaugural FIH Hockey Nations Cup held in 2022. Well, historic medal has been confirmed for India in Badminton Asia Team Championships in the women team event. India has advanced into semis. PV Sindhu, Ashwini Ponnappa, Tanisha Crasto and Ashmita won their respective matches to hand over India 3-0 win over Hong Kong in the quarter-finals. It is going to be first ever medal for India in women teams event. Earlier, the Indian men's team finished 2nd in Group A after losing 3-2 to the People's Republic of China in its Badminton Asia Team Championships 2024 in Shah Alam city of Malaysia. Also, 3rd seed Elena Rybakina took time to get going but secured a 6-4, 6-2 victory over Leila Fernandez to reach the semi-finals of the Qatar Open and stay on track for her 3rd title of the season. Top seed and defending champion Iga Swiatek also shook off a wobbly start in windy conditions before booking her place in the last 4 with a routine 6-4, 6-0 win over 2-time Grand Slam champion Victoria Azarenka. But it was the end of the road for Japan's 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka, who went down fighting 7-6, 7-6 against fellow former world number 1 Karolina Pliskova in a rematch of their Brisbane meeting last month. Unseeded Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova reached the Doha semis for the first time following a 7-5, 6-4 win over American qualifier Danielle Collins. And moving on, Australian Open champion and top seed Jannik Sinner saw French veteran Gael Monfils in 3 sets to book a spot in the Rotterdam Open quarter-finals. The Italian overcame a 2nd set blip to claim a 6-3, 3-6, 6-3 victory and will next face Canadian former world number 3 Milos Raonic. Kazakhstan's Alexander Shevchenko upset Danish 3rd seed Holger Rune 6-4, 1-6, 6-3 to set up a meeting against Grigor Dimitrov. And France captain Kylian Mbappe has informed Paris Saint-Germain that he is leaving the club in July as a free agent 7 years after joining them, according to a website. Mbappe signed for PSG from Monaco in 2017 for $194 million to become the 2nd most expensive player ever. The 25-year-old striker, who helped the capital club win 5 Ligue 1 titles and 3 French Cups, is PSG's all-time leading scorer with 243 goals in 290 appearances. Mbappe last year sent a letter to PSG stating that he would not take up the opinion to extend his contract by a year when it expires in June. And Harbin Ice Shows World is a landmark ice and snow theme park carved out of 250,000 cubic meters of ice and snow. The park, alongside other winter attractions in northeast China, has recently proved a smash hit on Chinese social media. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.